This video is for people who are making the Modern Needle Book. It's just to get you started, whether you are taking one of our classes and doing this as pre-work, or whether you have bought one of our kits or patterns and just want to have a little extra help to get started. So the first thing to do after you get your things cut or assemble your things, or whether you're just opening your kit, is set aside the things that you're not going to need just in the beginning. So this would be the 4 pearl cotton threads and the inside pages and the pocket and the inside cover. So I'm just going to be looking at making the outside of the front cover in this video. And I found the easiest thing to do as far as getting these little blue pieces was to cut some strips that are a 1/2 inch wide and cut some that are 3/8 inch, and then to cut them according to the directions, of course. It's on page 2, has the cutting directions. And as I read, okay, cut strip A from the 3/8, make it this long, lay it down over the diagram. You don't even have to pin it. You can just lay them down there for now, and then you can see where each of them goes and have an idea of how you're going to lay them out on the cover of your book. And where it says, if it says something like cut it for, 7/8 of an inch and then cut it at an angle, that's exactly how you do it. First, you cut it to the 7/8 inch length, and then you cut an angle. So this side will be 7/8 and this side will be shorter. I hope that makes sense. So I next have to pin everything in place on the front cover to applique it down with the applique stitch, which is what I'll cover next. And I found it was just getting pretty cluttered if I had pins just in everything. So what I did was I laid everything out, and then I just pinned on the, along the skinny strips in blue. And these others, I laid them in the place, the circles, where they were going to go to make sure that I liked the layout. Then I just took a friction pen, which is an erasable marker, and traced around each of those and just set them. Of course, now I've got extra sets of strips. This is just for the demonstration. At this point, if you're doing it yourself, you'll have the blue ones pinned on, and you'll have these circles just laying over here. Put them in a little baggie if you're not going to do them all in one sitting, because your cat, I guarantee, is going to come and take them, or you're going to brush them off and lose them. So just put them someplace where you can corral them. While we're talking about the circles, they don't have to be exact. You can use one of these things, or you can, if you've got the Karen K. Buckley Perfect Circles. The main point is to get a couple of different sizes that will fit in the space. Now, if you want to get things laid out exactly according to the way I have them, you just take a ruler and measure. Okay, this one's so far from this edge. I didn't write those in the diagram, in the directions rather, because it gets to be more confusing for people, I think, sometimes. And everybody's got their different way of measuring and laying things out. You can also just kind of eyeball them. They should be scattered about like this. But notice that all of the blue pieces come all the way to the edge. And they also, when you're pinning these, don't pin them right up against the edge. See how you're going to have to finish this later with blanket stitch edging. And on this, you've got to have it far enough away from the edge so that you can fold it and it's not crowded right up over the edge. So those are my tips as far as getting started. And you'll see that what we're using for this is 3 different shades of DMC floss. And I just pull out 2 strands. I believe our kits have a size 7 embroidery needle. You could use a milliner's needle also if you had a size 7 milliner's. And you can really start anywhere. Since I've got a knot in this, I'd rather not have my knot hanging out at the bottom where I have to deal with it. So you could start in the middle. You can start up here. We'll start over here on this part just for laughs. So we're doing the whip stitch for applique. I've brought this up from the back, and I'm going to go down right across from where I brought my thread up. And then see how there's like a diagonal part of the stitch? That's going all the way under here and through both layers and just pulling through. So I'm doing it with a sewing motion. You could do it, the whole thing, with a stab stitch. Just pick one and do all sewing motion or all stab stitch. And obviously I'm sewing this right-handed. It's the same thing if you're going left-handed. So I'm just taking little bites, but not so small that they're right on the edge of the felt, because you don't want, it's okay if it shows. You just don't want to get to the end and have done all this work and have your strips popping off. So rather come in a little bit here, a little too much versus a little bit less than what you needed. So see how that's just giving you a little invisible stitch. Mine is I've used a slightly different color thread here from what's in your kit so that you can see it, a little bit of the contrast, I hope. It's still a blue, but it's not as invisible of a match as what you have in your kit. So I hope that this helps you to get started. The other thing that I did then, you can, when you go to do the circles, you can just hold them on with your finger. You can put one little pin. These are the little applique pins that you can buy. I found it was easier just to hold it on, that I got less distortion if I just held each one on with my finger. And by now, you should be off and running and ready to start your embroidery stitches.